corporate. But when they recruited me, they asked me to take over as in charge of all of the newspaper, including the news operations as well as the business. So I did that for 10 years. It was a terrific 10 years. The McClatchy Company is a wonderful company. And so I was really proud to be there. We actually won 2 Pulitzers while I was at the helm. And in the history of the Sacramento Bee 150-year history, there have been a total of 5. So I was quite happy about that. And Go ahead.
Sorry, you were raised religiously too. You were raised like a standard religion. Your dad was a minister, a Presbyterian minister, and you were just operating like a standard American person. You didn't have any wild, crazy ideas before your experience, correct?
That is correct. I would say a classic Middle Westerner.
Okay,
My father was
deal.
Presbyterian, and we lived a very traditional life.
And I think that's important because it really lends credibility to your subsequent experiences. And I wonder if you could tell our listeners a little bit about what happened with your husband and then how you got this, how you began to understand that maybe your husband was communicating to you post-death.
Yes. My husband, Max Bessler, was a political consultant there in the state capital, Sacramento, in California. And we had been married in 2000, and then sadly, he passed away to esophageal cancer in May of 2004. And he was diagnosed 6 months later. He was gone. It was very sad. It was stage 4. He died in the living room of our home, really sort of living family room area of our home in Sacramento. And 1 week later, exactly to the day, I had a large clock that was above the fireplace just above the mantle, Ethan Allen clock, very heavy. That clock stopped at exactly 12:44, which was the precise time of Max's death 1 week earlier.
Wow.
After that, a sequence of events began to occur, so what I would call a series of events that were very unfamiliar to me. I had literally no experience with any of it. You know, things like doors opening and shutting and knocks in the wall, lights flickering, and these things went on for about a year. I chose, for the most part, to compartmentalize those events. I was publisher of the newspaper, therefore, in a very, as you can imagine, a role that required of me to be very fact-based, and I was. So it wasn't something I was going to bring to light with my associates or at work. And then on the first anniversary of Max's death, to the day, it was May 8th of 2005, it was Mother's Day. We're coming up onto Mother's Day
10
here
years.
soon.
It's almost your 10-year anniversary
10 years.
here.
Exactly. So Mother's Day 2005, my son and I, he was 15 at the time, we're out in the backyard in our home, and he was doing his homework, I was doing my newspaper work, and I went into the bathroom, which is adjacent to the kitchen, just to wash my hands and then make us a sandwich. And that was the bathroom where Max had resided in his bedroom suite area in the last months of his life because he was quite uncomfortable with the cancer, and so we slept apart naturally. And I looked up at the mirror as I was washing my hands. I saw a very large handprint. It was the right handprint, and looking at it, I was stunned because my mind said this can't be possible, but my eyes said it is possible. It was kind of a powdery substance, and it was really transparent. I could see the bone structure. I could see all of the palm, the lines that you had on your palm, which are so unique to every individual, were all defined there. And I think I stood for at least 60 seconds just staring at it. And then I had the wherewithal to call my son, and he came to see it.
No, was it stuff on top of the mirror, or was it just like a print on the mirror? It was, you said it was substances, stuff you could wipe off, or was it?
Yes,
it was actually
like
material.
Powder.
Wow.
Yes, it was like a powder. If I had to say, a talcum powder or a pizza dough or chocolate chip cookie dough. When my son first came in, I thought for a minute you maybe played a trick on me when I wasn't looking. Although I knew we'd been sitting together that whole time, and I'd been in that same bathroom combing my hair an hour earlier, and it was not there. So, the facts were that it came from nowhere, and I called Tanner in. I said, Tanner, you didn't do this, did you? He put his hand up. Of course, his hand was small. He's a boy, 15, and this was a very large, masculine hand, larger than a human hand. So at least I documented it in terms of a photograph.
You did get a picture? You got a picture.
Yes, and that's in the book. All the photographs are in the book. We had the powdery prints come back in 2006 and then again in 2007.
Yeah, I see the pictures. Those are actually literal pictures. Those are the exact pictures that you took. I mean, I see the pictures in the book. I didn't realize those were the actual pictures of the print.
Yes.
It is quite amazing and quite dramatic.
Yes.
Wow. And so, what was your first thought? Did you make the connection to your husband?
I did. I mean, I don't know. I can't prove that. I'll never be able to prove it. But I just think the fact that it came on his exact anniversary, at the time, though, a different time.
When you saw it,
not at first. I mean, we knew it was his anniversary, so part of my mind said yes, but that it was him. But I was very much in denial. I think it's interesting in life how when things happen that are out of a realm of the known, how you work really hard to rationalize.
That's true.
You want to rationalize. It really wasn't until a friend of mine sat me down one day and said, "You spent your entire career in newspapers. Why don't you do what newspapers do? Why don't you investigate and research the afterlife?" So I asked myself this question. I said, does our consciousness survive death? Is there more? And that was when I began to pursue this line of questioning and decided to go out and speak with scientists and professors who study their consciousness. Also some spiritual practitioners as well.
Now, did you find? Well, we got to take a break here. I want to ask you when you come back. Did you find scientists who poo-pooed what you said? Who researchers who didn't believe what you said? Who thought that there might be some kind of rational explanation? In addition to the scientists, many scientists who actually affirmed your ideas and affirmed your belief about consciousness post-death. We'll come back after this break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're talking to Janice Heafy-Durham about her book, The Hand on the Mirror. We're going to take a break and come back right after this. Don't go away.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
The Genesis Communications Network is one of America's premier broadcasters of captivating talk radio. We thank you for listening. Now, just imagine, there are thousands of people who are just as passionate about radio as you are. But what you may not realize is how easy and affordable it is to advertise with us. Radio commercials for your business could be heard on hundreds of radio stations across the U.S. every day. We can help you by creating an effective radio advertising campaign for your company. From script writing to producing your commercial, just like the one you're listening to right now. No other network provides the level of customer service we do. When it comes to radio advertising, we are your one-stop shop. And no matter how big or small your business is, we can help. Email us at advertise@gcnlive.com, and an experienced advertising executive will help you take the first step towards driving more customers to your business or website. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
Can Heart and Body Extract help with other ailments besides heart conditions, high blood pressure, clogged arteries, or unbalanced cholesterol? It did for Karen.
I've been using Heart and Body Extract for approximately 2 weeks. I've had an earwax buildup problem for many years, with over-the-counter stuff not working at all. I had very poor hearing due to this earwax buildup. Well, after 2 weeks of taking Heart and Body Extract, my earwax buildup almost completely cleared up. Could this be the effect of better body circulation?
Heart and Body Extract is an effective 100% organic nutritional supplement specially formulated to allow your body to heal itself.
My hearing hearing is almost completely back to normal. I'm amazed.
Order by calling 866-295-5305 or online at hbextract.com. That's 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract for long and healthy life.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for $35,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet for $35,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100 foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Call 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
Not just an alternative to the mainstream media. We're the premier independent talk radio network. We are GCN.
All right, we're back on the bright side talking to Janice Heafy-Durham about her book, The Hand on the Mirror, A True Story of Life Beyond Death. Janice, I know you went, so after your experience, you went and interviewed scientists and spiritual advisors, I guess you could say. I wonder, did you find yourself having to defend yourself or defend your lucidity or your sanity even about when you told people about the handprint and the clock stopping, etc.?
No, I not really. I mean, I myself would consider myself to be a skeptic, and I was trying to apply the critical thinking that I had throughout the course of my life to this as well. And when I would interview each person, I would ask the questions pertinent to the research that they were doing, and I was really about learning. I think if you look at science today, most scientists who are in what you would call mainstream science believe that our reality is 100% physically based. They think it's just electrons and quarks, and that there is no more. And that even our consciousness reduces to these elements. In fact, they believe that no part of consciousness exists separately from the brain. But the scientists that I was interviewing were ones who I found out, each one led me to another, were studying in a different way. We're more in a new approach to it, or a more cutting-edge approach, parapsychology, which is often, outside of the realm of the normal science, but they believe in the idea of a universal consciousness. And they do not believe that when your brain ceases, you cease to exist. In fact, they believe that, your thoughts and your consciousness goes on. So those are the scientists that I interviewed, and I think that it was really interesting that one of them in particular, Dr. Dean Radin, when I went to see him, he's chief scientist at the
Bleep.
Yes, that's right. He's in What the Bleep. He's up there in Petaluma and as chief scientist at the Noetic Institute. And I thought that what I was experiencing was so very unusual, but what he said to me is no. He said there are so many people that experience these kinds of things. They have near-death experiences or out-of-body or psychokinesis, telepathy. It's just that people are afraid to talk about it. And they're afraid because they're afraid of being judged, which is in great part why I came out with the book, because I really believe that it's important to open up this dialogue. And it doesn't mean that you don't still have a rational and sensible strategy for your life. I mean, I'm a very rational person. I apply critical thinking to most all the aspects of my life. However, these things happened. And for me to deny that they did would be to deny reality. So I came forward so that other people can talk about it.
Now, I love you have some. You talked to this guy, Dr. Wendland, who is a physicist, and he had some really, really interesting things to say. This guy is about as materialistic a scientist as you could get. He was a PhD, I think, in experimental physics. Is that right? From UCLA?
That's right. And he taught at UCLA, and yes.
And he's a big believer. He was not a skeptic at all.
No. In fact, he's told me he spent his entire life studying quantum physics. And so he said that, he actually helped develop the